Good evening, old school Texas Tech. I hope everyone is doing well. It's Christmas Eve. I may have had a cocktail or two. There may not be coffee in here. I don't know. I'll leave it to the imagination. But anyway, I saw a game on the schedule that I wanted to talk about, even though it's Christmas Eve. And it's the K-State Rutgers bowl game out in Arizona. I think it's played at the baseball stadium. It's called the Rate Bowl. I don't know. I used to be in that business years ago. I don't know if that's guarantee rate bowl or if it's just rate bowl. I don't know. I've been out of that world for a little while, but anyway, K State and Rutgers. My understanding is that there was some sort of issue of some kind with TCU in the Liberty Bowl, and TCU turned down the Liberty Bowl, and then that started a sequence of events that caused Texas Tech to accept the Liberty Bowl invite, which is fine with me because I like the Arkansas matchup. I'm not saying we're gonna definitely win the game or anything like that, and I have total respect for Arkansas, but I like that matchup. I think it's an intriguing matchup. Anyway, it looked from everything I was hearing prior to that was we were going to end up in this bowl in Phoenix on the 26th. And I know a lot of the sports writers weren't happy about it because it was going to disrupt their Christmas holidays, which I can't blame them. Anyway, so what we've got is K State. Chris Klein, I think it's Chris Kleinman. I just call him Kleinman. Anyway, when you're as good a coach as he is, you just go by the last name, right? Anyway, I have a lot of respect for K State. Do I root for K State? Sometimes I do. Do I scream and say all sorts of nasty things about them when Texas Tech is playing them? Yes, I do. But I have tremendous respect for their program, and that goes back a long way, like back to when I was in high school. So I respect K State a lot. I respect their program. Anyway, they have former because this is a Texas Tech YouTube channel at its heart. They do have former Tech coach, head coach Matt Wells on staff. I don't know if I've ever talked about it too much on the channel. I have a lot of personal respect for him. I think it was and I was wrong because I thought he was a good hire at first. He was a horrible hire for Tech, terrible fit at Tech, just didn't work. But he's one of the co-offensive coordinators under Klieman at K State. That was probably a pretty smart career move for him. I think Matt Wells actually is a pretty smart guy. It just didn't work at Tech. They've had a defensive coordinator that's been on staff for 5 years, almost as long as Klieman's been there. He runs that 3-3-5 that Iowa State's kind of perfected. I don't know who gets credit for creating that, but I know Iowa State's one of the schools that's really good at running it. Okay, so then we go over to Rutgers. They have a guy, Greg. I know this guy's been mentioned at coaching searches and stuff before. I think it's Shiano. I don't know. Hey, Rutgers fans, New Yorkers, go ahead, just lay it on me. Put it in the comments. I'm sure I slaughtered his last name. Both quarterbacks have been. I mean, both coordinators have been around for a while. They got a quarterback. I can't pronounce his name. It's Christmas Eve. I may or may not have had a couple of cocktails. But he's completed 54.8% of his passes, thrown for almost 2,500 yards, 17 touchdowns, six interceptions. Anyway, he likes Miller and Strong are the two wide receivers he likes a lot. And Miller has five, Strong has four touchdowns. He's got a few others he likes to throw to. They got a good running game. Guy's name, I believe it is spelled. Let me look. I don't want to be lazy. Monangai. He he's run for almost 1,300 yards, 5 yards a carry, 13 touchdowns. The guy's a beast. The guy's a great running back for Rutgers. I think I'd read a little bit because I thought we were going to play Rutgers. I'd read a little bit about him. All right, K State, typical quarterback efficiency with Johnson. 2,500 yards passing, 65, almost 66% completion rate, 22 touchdowns, 9 interceptions. Interceptions might be a little high for K State. I mean, it's not bad that's pretty good for most quarterbacks. But K State, I actually would have expected the interceptions to be a little lower, which might explain why they had. This is a little bit of an off year for K State. 8-4 is a little bit of an off year for them in my view. I have to look at their record, but they're usually the class of the Big 12, and I thought that they would. I honestly probably would have picked them to go to the conference championship game this year, and I may have. I'll have to go back and look at the video. Anyway, they have 9 players in double digit receptions. So Mike Leach would be very proud. They've got a great running back, Giddens, 205 carries, 1,300 yards. He averages 6.6 yards a pop. And anyway, let's look. Let me see if I've got the schedules up. I think I do. Let's look at Scarlet Knights. They had a streak in the middle of the year. I'm sure they did not think they were going bowling, kind of like Tech last year. They lost 4 games in a row. Nebraska, Wisconsin, UCLA, and brutal cross country flight to USC, which is just crazy. They lost to number 25 Illinois. As far as quality wins, I don't really remember how Virginia Tech did this year. I think Washington was a little down. Minnesota was, I don't know. No, I think Minnesota played somebody really good this year, but I don't think their record was overall that great. And then I think Michigan State had a little bit off year. So I don't really have any huge quality wins. Anyway, let's look at K-State. They did have some quality wins because I followed them pretty good. They beat Arizona before Arizona collapsed. They beat Tulane in New Orleans. That was a pretty good win. UT Martin, kind of warm-up game. They whipped Oklahoma State. Unfortunately, Oklahoma State just collapsed this year. They lost to BYU at home. BYU ended up being a pretty good team. They beat Colorado in Boulder. Very impressive win. Won at West Virginia, blew them out. West Virginia made a bowl. Beat Kansas when Kansas was starting to upset everybody. Lost a shocker down in Houston. Lost to Arizona State after Arizona State got hot. Beat Cincinnati, and then they lost to Iowa State right there at the end when things got crazy with all the tiebreakers and all that. All right, so what do I think? What do I think is going to happen here? And I admit I'm biased. I'm biased towards K-State, not because I dislike Rutgers. I just don't know as much about them. I know this. I respect the fact that that head coach has been there for so long. One thing that really throws me off with K-State is they're -1 in the turnover ratio for the year, but they're holding teams to 3.5 yards a carry. It's a really good sign. They're holding teams 36. They're holding teams at 36% on third down, and they're even doing better on fourth down. Rutgers is not good on third downs. They're basically they're at about 41% on third down, and they're giving up 4.9 yards a carry. K State's going to be able to run the ball on them. Rutgers' best chance is going to be turnovers if they get some turnovers. But I'd be surprised. I'd be surprised if Rutgers won this game. I think K State's going to take this game out in Arizona the day after Christmas. What's the line on it? I'm sorry. ESPN Analytics agrees with me. Vegas agrees with me. I don't really care either way. I would have picked K-State regardless. I think K-State wins this game by a touchdown. Let's go. Let's go. 32. I'm going to go 32 to 20. 32 to 20. I think K State wins 32-20, and I think it's going to be based off the strength of their running game and their ability to get Rutgers off the field on third down more. And I'll admit it, I'm going for K State. Hopefully, K State doesn't turn the ball over because that's the only thing that could cost them this game, in my opinion. Anyway, that's my prediction. I got 32-20. K State over Rutgers. Have everybody have a nice Christmas Eve.